Hello there, this is a demo of the new Agent Bridge extension for Gato AI Translation for Polylang that allows you to use Claude, Codex, and Gemini to translate your content directly from your AI harness flow, from Claude Code or from Gemini CLI or from Codex, so that you don't have to pay money on tokens with an API key. You can use your current subscription. In my case, I use Claude Code, and we're going to see an example of how to use Claude Code to translate our content. So this is the settings for Gato AI Translation for Polylang, and when Agent Bridge is installed, we have this new tab called External Tools that gives us here a prompt to generate a skill. The skill is called Gato Translate, and we can do it for Claude Code, Claude Desktop, Codex, and Gemini CLI. So I'm going to copy the prompt for Claude Code, and then I go to Claude, not here, it's here, and I will paste this prompt and run it. Okay, here we are. So now we have created the Gato Translate skill, and so we can already execute it. Let's see if this works already. Yes, there we go. Sometimes you might need to restart your application, and then when you load it again, the skill will be loaded. In this case, it just works straight. So when you run Gato Translate for the first time, it will ask you for the credentials to connect to the WordPress site. You need to provide a user that has the edit post capability, so the admin will work, an editor will work, a writer will also work. And in this case, the site domain by default will be the one where we're operating, but you can also define a new site domain if you need to translate a different WordPress site. And here it says that we need to provide the WordPress username and the application password. So let's do that. So I go to my site, and I will create a new application password for my user. I am logged in as the admin here. Let's call this Claude Translation, and I will copy this application password. So now we go back to Claude, and I say that's the username, and this is the application password, and with this it will be able to create the credentials. And next it will ask me what content do I want to translate. I want to translate posts, I want to translate terms, I want to translate users, I want to translate menus. Here we go. And then which entities, which IDs do I want to translate. So let's say that we want to translate posts with ID, and let's check what we have. Here I have this post with ID 4701. So now I'm saying please translate this post with this ID, and that's what it's going to do. So the way that the Agent Bridge works is that it is still using Gato AI Translation for Polylang on the WordPress site to extract the strings to translate and to replace the strings with the translated strings on the translation post. But in between, the actual translation, to translate this string from English to Spanish and from English to French in this case, that will be done by my AI harness here using Claude Code and using my Claude Max plan. So then I'm not spending any money on the AI translations with my API key on the WordPress site. I can even remove the API key. I will keep it there so then that I can still use the WordPress site to also translate if I want to, but now with this procedure I don't need it anymore. So now it says that it has done it, and if we go back to this post, we can see here it has translated this post. Let's open it to see what it was. It has this simple post in English, and I have translated it to French and to Spanish. There we go. And also now, because we are operating via our AI harness, I can provide a list of IDs here that I want to translate, like this one and this one, or I can give it an instruction of saying, please find out which are the other posts. I can say, translate the other posts. And so now Claude Code will be intelligent enough to find out which are the IDs of these other posts, and then tell Gato AI Translation for Polylang, please extract the strings from these posts back to Claude Code. He will translate them to both French and Spanish using the current plan, so then I'm not spending any money. And once it has the list of all the strings translated, it will inject it back into Gato AI Translation for Polylang to finish the job, creating the translated posts and injected all the translated strings in them. And because these two other posts, let's take a look at them. They're actually much bigger. These are quite substantial number of strings to translate. This is one, they have to be translated to both Spanish and French, and this is another one that has to be translated to Spanish and French. What we will notice is that here Claude will create sub-agents to translate these requests in parallel. Then this way we don't have to wait for a very long time, and it translates the strings for French and Spanish. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention is that here it will be using Sonnet to translate. So instead of using Opus, we can use Sonnet just for the translation. So then it's also optimal in this case, which is the model that we're using for the task. Okay, there we are. So now the translation has finished, and if we go back to the website and we check all the posts, now we can see that those two posts, they have been translated here to Spanish and French, and also the first one has been translated to Spanish and French. So here we are. This is the translation to Spanish, and this is the translation to French, and then the other post, here it is translated to Spanish, and here it is translated to French. And all of these translations, they came for free. Since I am using the tokens that I have remaining in my quota, I don't need to pay for additional API for the tokens consumed via an API key. Alright, I hope that you have enjoyed this video. Thank you.